Hey, what's going on, friends? This is Paul Hutchings with PipelineMoney.com. Hope you're having a great day. In this video, I wanted to share some thoughts that may or may not be a little controversial. I want to talk about forgiveness for just a few minutes. And forgiveness, I'll start off by saying, is an idea, a practice that generally speaking is looked upon as a really good thing to do. And for the most part, I agree with that. However, I also think there are some distinctions to be made and some caveats to where forgiveness and the concept of forgiveness and the constant talking about it all the time can eventually actually maybe even be a negative thing in some cases. Just like with many things in life, there are distinctions to be made. So that's what I want to do in this video is talk about that a little bit. And I want to start off with a story. So when I think about forgiveness, I always remember this time in my life where I forgave someone, and this was my father. So in case you don't know my background, when I was 8 years old, my dad left my family. And my family included my mom, who was unemployed at the time, and she had a bunch of debt. She actually had debt on the car that my dad left in. And so my dad left, and that left my mom and me and my younger sister. And at the time, as I said, I was 8, my younger sister was 6. And he kind of left us to struggle, right? I didn't see my dad again until his funeral when I was in my early 20s. I was actually going to college down in Phoenix, Arizona, and I got word, again, had no contact with him. I knew he'd gone to California, but we never received any letters, never received any phone calls. So from the time where I was 8 years old, clear up until that phone call I got in college, where I was informed that my dad had passed away, I didn't see my dad. And I ended up going to his funeral. I flew back to Idaho, and then we drove to Utah to attend his funeral. Well, in any case, I continued my schooling down in Arizona, going to college. And there came a point in time where I felt like I was carrying around this burden in my heart that had to do with my dad. And I remember climbing to the top of this hill in Phoenix, Arizona. And if you've never been to Phoenix, there are all these little hills that are kind of scattered throughout the city, and it's really beautiful because you can climb up to one of these peaks, especially at sunset. And when the sun's going down, you're looking over this huge city, right? The city of Phoenix. And then as the sun goes down, all the lights come on, and it's a really beautiful sight and a great experience if you haven't had the chance to look down on Phoenix, at nighttime. Well, anyway, I'm up there on the top of one of these peaks, and the sun's going down, and I'm just looking out over the city and thinking about life and thinking about what's going on in my mind and heart. And all of a sudden, I said out loud, "I forgive you, Dad. Dad, I forgive you." And I remember doing that and releasing. It just felt like I released this weight that I had been carrying around. Hey, Keith Schaefer, good to see you, man. Thanks for tuning in. So I released this weight. But here is the thing: was the act of me forgiving my dad for him, or was it for me? And keep in mind, at this point in time, my dad had died. So he wasn't even on the earth at the time I forgave him. In this case specifically, it really seems that the act of forgiveness was for me. And in being able to forgive that experience, forgive that person, forgive whatever negative feelings I was holding on to, I was able to step into more lightness. So that act of forgiveness really was for me specifically. And that leads me to the second part of this video, which is where I might get into a little controversy a little bit, because I hear people all the time talking about, you need to forgive, you need to forgive, you need to forgive. And certainly, if you're holding something, forgiveness can be a really, really good thing, especially for you. There's a great quote that I've heard from time to time, something to the effect of, holding anger for someone else is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. And, I think that's a great illustration that helps us to remember that the act of forgiveness really is more for us. But here's kind of the rub is, as I've thought about forgiveness and the act of forgiving, I feel like if I am in a position where I feel like I need to forgive someone else, then maybe there was a mistake that I made personally that put me into that space where I felt like I needed to forgive that person. And what do I mean by this? Well, like one thought to consider is, can we get to a place either right now or at some point in the future where we just never hold on to any negativity for anybody? Can we get to a place where we always express goodwill to others, love for others, even if that other person does something to hurt us? I had a guy in a text message today to tell me to F off. It's like I could hold anger and I could say, what a jerk. And I could allow that to ruin my day. And then I could hold on to that. And then 3 weeks from now, I could be like, hearing someone say, hey, you need to forgive people. And I'd be like, yeah, that guy that told me to F off in the text message. Yeah, I'm going to take the higher road and I'm going to forgive that guy. But am I taking the higher road? And wouldn't it have been better right from the start to say, bless you. I wish you well. I have empathy towards you. There must be some things going on in your life right now that are making you unhappy for you to say F off to a total stranger. And so I wish you well. And then to just immediately let it go. So the idea here, and this is another related idea, there's a concept in communication called a presupposition. And a presupposition is something that's communicated without being stated in the words. One of my great mentors taught me a really good communication lesson, and he said, the effect of your communication is not the words that you say, but the effect that it has on other people. And so that just means that when we communicate, we're using words, yes, but we're also using emotion and intention. And there are all of these things communicated sometimes in the things we say that we're not even in the words. And so when you say to someone, you need to forgive, that sort of has a presupposition in it that you did something maybe that wasn't the best thing to do, which is you're holding a grudge. You're holding ill will towards somebody or someone in your past. And that may or may not be true. And so I think if we can get to a place where we just don't hold on to any negativity for anyone, maybe there's not as much of a need to forgive, and maybe even that need can be completely eliminated. In religious background, religious thought and circles, and a Christian thought, the Bible, there's this concept of sin. And today I looked up the origin of that word because I was really curious about it, and it said that sin actually comes from a Greek word that originally means to miss the mark. To miss the mark. That's not as heavy, is it, as the word sin and the associations in today's day and age that are often packed into that word. To me, missing the mark is, it's kind of like if we're shooting a bow and arrow and we're trying to hit a bullseye, and the bullseye is the mark, and we're just getting started, we're gonna miss the mark. That's part of the learning process. And so, if we miss that mark, that's okay. We just keep aiming for the right mark. And so, how does this relate to this whole forgiveness thing? Maybe if we're holding ill will towards somebody, we're missing the mark. And we can use forgiveness to help us get back on track. But at some point, it feels like we want to get to a place where we stop missing the mark in that area at least. And specifically, again, I'll reiterate what I've said, don't be angry at people. Don't, even the people that are mean to us, even the people that we feel do us wrong. If we can hit the mark right off the bat when that happens, and hitting the mark right off the bat, I think is where, maybe we follow what Jesus said in the New Testament, where he said, love everyone. He said, even love your enemies. Pray for those that don't send you good, that despitefully use you, right? And so that counsel is, if we can just always have good intentions for everybody, then maybe we're not making that first initial mistake that will then require us to forgive down the road. So I don't know if these thoughts make sense, but they were on my heart. And so I wanted to pass them along. Keith Schaefer says, boom. And Keith Schaefer says, Vegas, the city of missing the mark. Maybe so. I don't know, Keith. I'm not 100% sure what you mean by that. But yeah, we all miss the mark from time to time. And I think missing the mark is okay. It's part of the learning process. And the other thing that relates to this that might be good to bring up is forgiving yourself. Sometimes we make mistakes or, we miss the mark in the past, and we beat ourselves up so much for the things that we've done. And maybe that's even a little conditioned into us to just be so filled with remorse and guilt and regret because we missed the mark, and then we kind of like hold on to that. And hey, Cisco, good to see you. Thanks for tuning in. Oh yeah, Kathy says, I get it, city of sin. Oh, gotcha. Yeah, that's right. I get it now. Thanks, Kathy. But if we can get to a point where we forgive ourselves, and then here's another phrase that I think has helped me a lot with that. If you knew better, wouldn't you do better? And a lot of times people make decisions according to the best knowledge they have at the time. And so when I think about some of the things that, maybe have happened in my past, some of the decisions that I made that maybe in hindsight, knowing what I know now, would I make that same decision? No, I wouldn't. When I think about the old Paul, honestly, I think the old Paul was making decisions according to the best knowledge that he had in his mind. And as I've learned and grown and had greater understanding, I've started to make better decisions. And so if you in your past have done things that have brought you guilt, maybe you can look back at your older self and say, boy, really, you just did the best you could with the knowledge and the understanding that you had available to you at the time. And I love you for that. And that's okay. And, keep doing that and keep getting better. And if we can look at our old selves in that way, it seems like it's easier to not hold so much of the negativity inside that we sometimes, want to give to ourselves. And, last thought that I'll share that is, Keith says, big aha moment for you. Thank you, Keith. I'm so excited to hear that. And then the last thought, how does all of these random thoughts tie into success? And this is one of the reasons that I care about this topic so much, is that to be successful in life, whatever definition you want to give to success, one of the things it seems to me that is essential, and I learned this from Napoleon Hill, law of success number 2, self-confidence, believing in yourself, feeling like you are a whole and worthy person. I am worthy for success. I am good enough. I am happy with myself. I love myself. I'm proud of myself for everything that I've done up to this point. And what's missing from all of those statements? All of the self-deprecation that sometimes happens, that comes from the guilt and the shame and the remorse for the decisions our old self made. So many people carry that stuff with them. And it seems somewhat difficult to be your best self when you're carrying guilt and shame from things that maybe happened way back in the day. And so I would really love, for me and anyone here live or on the replay to, just make a decision to love your former self and understand that you did the best that you could with the information that you had at the time. And today is a new day where we can be thankful for our past because it led us to this moment in time where we now know the things that we know, and we can make better decisions today and moving on. And instead of having all the guilt and the shame and the remorse and the self-deprecation, let that go. If you need to forgive yourself, right? Let it go and let today be a new day where we can move forward into the future in the most powerful way, filled with love and faith and happiness and gratitude, knowing that we're all perfect right now in the moment that we're in. That's why we're here. So we can be perfect here and learn what we need to learn so we can get better tomorrow. So I hope this has been helpful. I appreciate everyone for tuning in. Cisco, Keith, Paula, Kathy. Hey, Paula, good to see you. Leave me your thoughts and comments down below. I know this is like kind of a strange topic, strange video. Kathy says, doing the best I can and forgiving myself for anything less than my best. Yeah. And yeah, that's, that's a good thing to do, Kathy. And yeah, I just play around with those ideas, ask questions, like if I did the best that I could in the past, knowing what I knew then, is there really anything even to forgive? If I really, did the best with the knowledge that I had? Because here's the other thing that we sometimes do is we judge our former self by the knowledge of today's self. And that's unfair. That is so unfair. Paul today has had so many experiences and conversations and read so many books that Paul in high school had no clue of. So is it fair for Paul today to judge Paul in high school by what Paul did in high school using Paul's knowledge in high school? That's not fair. So play with that idea. Maybe there's nothing to even forgive of the Paul in the Paul back in the day, if he did the best that he could with the knowledge that he had at hand. And yeah, So anyway, I'll close out. I'm kind of rambling here, but I just want to tell you that I love you. I believe in you. I believe that you are great. I believe that you are perfect for where you are right now. I believe that, no one else, no other human has any other right, has any other authority to put you down, to tell you you're less than, to tell you you're not doing things right, to tell you, any of that stuff. You and maybe your connection with the divine, that's the best way, that's the best counsel to listen to. And then also, the counsel that's helping you to live into that and to grab that divine seed. I did a podcast interview last week with a great guy named Ray Williams. And he said, one thought that he likes is that we all have this divine seed inside of us. And tune into that divine seed and listen to that and grow that and allow that light to shine more into life. And in my conception of that divine seed, there's really, self-deprecation, putting yourself down, being filled with fear. Those emotions, they're not associated so much to me with that divine seed. What's better to me is faith, happiness, love, joy, abundance, patience, understanding, and just doing the best that I can with this moment that I have in time right now. Paula says, in order to move forward in a positive way, need to release any negativity. Yeah, absolutely. She says, great thoughts. Thanks, Paul. Yeah, thank you, Paul. Paul, I appreciate you for tuning in. All right, guys, have a great day. Take action, go for your dreams. And if you want to get more content like this, or maybe even non-related content, I do a lot of content on building business from home, personal development. You can subscribe to my email list at pipelinemoney.com. All right, have a great day, everyone. Bye for now.